Today we have the real privilege of hearing from Don Harkey and Matt Griswold, leaders at People Centric. Matt is an accomplished speaker who gains a lot of energy from participating with groups like you. So please, when he's here, make sure you give him a loud shout out, and when they're asking questions, please do engage. That gives them a lot of energy. Matt in particular, his work is to transform company cultures, and in particular really engages with helping those companies seek really specific roles for individuals and how they contribute to the company cultures that they're a part of. Matt's leadership philosophy is that everyone is a leader, so be sure to engage them as such. Don Harkey is a sought-after speaker as well. Multiple industries and deep insights across those, as well as, of course, in healthcare for us. As a former engineer, Don brings a very unique perspective to the businesses and cultures that he works with. That is that every business is uniquely and perfectly dialed in to get the results that they're getting today. So as CEO of People Centric, Don loves to help people and leaders shape and adjust those company cultures to really outperform and change the way that they're functioning. Don and Matt are both highly strategic, process-driven, and highly engaging speakers. Today, they're going to speak to a session called Knowing the Score, Making the Case for Financial Transparency, which I really think will help both financial and operational leaders here in the room really strive for that medical practice excellence that we're all hoping for. Please help me in welcoming to the stage Matt Griswold and Don Harkey of People Centric.
Good to see you. That's the type of interaction I'm after right there, right? Ask a question. Feel free to give me an answer. We're going to start like this, though, before we get into the content. It's a pro tip, okay? I just want you to look like you're having a fantastic time, just wildly successful. It's a great time already. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Hang on. Some of you need to work on it. Let's try this side. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, hey! Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Good. Pro speaker tip. In case you weren't aware, if you take a selfie with a crowd of engaged people beforehand, even if you bomb, you have proof that they actually liked it at the end of it. So I can go to social media and say, that's not true. It was fantastic. They really enjoyed the content. My name is Matt Griswold with People Centric Consulting Group. Don Harkey, People Centric Consulting Group. He's the CEO. I'm speaker, trainer. I get to be in front of a lot of people. With MGMA, we've been to lots of different state conferences and happy to be on this stage now talking about the financials. Now, there was a table from the workshop. Who attended the workshop just a little bit ago? Yes. Where's my group of people that promised the slow clap as we were going to take the stage? Gosh. Jeez. Okay, well, whatever. You get the idea. We had a lot of fun.
We need to watch more 80s movies. So we're not a slow clap, really. It's supposed to build over time, and then we're going to,
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. And we talked about building a people-centric culture. We get to parlay that into this idea of knowing the score and transparency with the financials. So up here, what you can see is this is the framework for how do we install cultures within organizations, right? The science of how people work has been known for quite a while, but the cultural engineering, how do I engineer this framework into an organization? There it is. It's based on these 5 sets of systems. In fact, some people would say, you know what builds culture is happy people. You got to have happy people. I like happy people too, but that's not how you define culture. It's really the stuff that they're in, the people system. The 5 sets of systems starts with the people system. What does your hiring look like? What does your onboarding look like? The people that are in the roles, do they understand what's expected of them in that role? The people in the role, do they understand how well they do their thing impacts the next department that's going to touch that thing, right? Lots of time spent in the people system. The communication system is really, yes, we want communication to flow from top to bottom, but also bottom to top and side to side, especially during COVID. Man, communication was super reactive, right? We didn't know the rules. I didn't know what was going to change. I couldn't tell you what tomorrow looks like until tomorrow. Now that's kind of getting back to where we can go more proactively with communication. I want to be able to create communication spots for my employees to be able to raise concerns, share ideas, proactive, intentional communication. The management system, we recognize that people are promoted to managerial spots because they used to be really good at their job. Anybody in that boat? You were a very good employee. You were just killing it. Going to work, I knew my job, I knew my role, and then somebody tapped you on the shoulder one day, and they're like, you're fantastic. And then you go, thanks. New plan. We want you to get out there and lead and motivate people, right? We want you to go manage that group. Godspeed, and they kick you on over there, right?
Matt, I just saw somebody point to the person next to him. That's how you got promoted.
I saw the same thing.
Yeah.
I saw the same thing. Unfortunately, that's a thing. That's a thing that's out there. Now, we do a good job of promoting them. We do a horrible job of developing them and teaching them what it looks like to be a manager and a leader. And I see a lot of head nods. That's not this talk. Don't get too excited because I'm stopping right there. But if you want to know more, we can talk about that later. The process system. The only thing I'll say about this is the process system. What is your process for process improvement? Right? What is your process for process improvement? Most processes are developed at such a high level, and then we hand them down to our people like Moses coming from the mountain going, here is what you will do. Here is how you will do the thing. When in reality, if you are upper level management, owner, C-suite, those frontline people probably know their job better than you know their job. How do you engage them to help create a better process for them? And then finally, the strategy. Are we all rowing in the same direction? Are we all pointed in the same direction? We're all singing from the same sheet of music, as they would say, right? Are we gauging, do we have a good gauge of what success looks like? Do we know what winning looks like? And today, with this financial transparency, we're actually going to spend a lot of time in the strategy session, but I'm going to give you 60 seconds at your table first to answer these 3 questions at your table. 60 seconds. Do you all have a 1-year plan? Do you all have a 5-year plan? The next question is, do your people know what that plan is also? All right, 60 seconds and go. If you're by yourself, you can just think about it. And scene. See, I think a lot of facilitators, they are afraid to feed you topics like that because they're worried they'll never get you back. Good job on coming back. Now, here's the question, and you can just kind of raise a hands. How many of your folks there, did you guys have a 1-year plan? Raise your hands. Yeah? How about a 5-year plan? Less hands. Here's the kicker. How many of you do your people know what the plan is? Much less hands. Some hands. Much less hands. Why is it important that your people also know what the plan is? And when I say your people, like your frontline employees, your middle managers, those folks. Why is it important that they also know the plan? They're carrying out the plan. Or they don't, and then we spend time getting frustrated at them for not helping us follow the plan that they have no idea exists. You ever see how that works? You ever see how that works with strategic planning? This is why it's important. I'm going to share a story with you. It's called the Texas-sized vision. This is a true story of a critical access hospital that we work with in Texas. And the vision of the CEO of this critical access hospital was, I want to not only be the provider of choice or the healthcare of choice in our little town, rural Texas, I want to be the provider of choice, the healthcare of choice for the region. That was his vision. I want to create many different partnerships with other critical access hospitals and specialties and clinics and things like that. I want to create as many partnerships as I can because we want to not only hold the share in our small town, in our little town, but we want to be the choice within the region. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool plan. In fact, if you asked anybody on the board, they would know the plan too. You ask anybody in the C-suite there on the executive team, they would know that plan. The problem is, if you walked the halls and you started talking to the nurses or maybe even department heads, and you'd say things like, hey, what's the 1-year plan for this place? Some of them might know, some of them might not. What's the overall vision for this place? Like, where are we going? Nobody had a clue. Nobody had a clue. If I don't know what the overall vision is of success or what the scope of winning looks like or where we are going, doesn't matter how engaged I am, ultimately I'm going to start feeling what? Any ideas? I hear stress. I hear stress a lot. Stress leads to burnout. Burnout leads to gone. If it's not tied to the overall thing, like that's a great vision. That's a Texas-sized vision. That's a great vision to be able to have. How do we then share that with the folks that we're trusting to help us accomplish that vision? So here's a couple of questions. When it comes to the finances of your business, what do you think your employees know about them? But really, question number 2, somebody give me an answer. What do you think matters to them about your company's finances? Stability. Did I hear stability? What else? Yeah, do you have enough in there to pay me? Maybe. Do I have enough in there to get one more check out of this ride, right? I have enough in there to be able to sustain and continue to go. And if we have to be able to help connect that to an overall strategy. So I'm going to share an illustration. And guys, I can't tell you how excited I am about this illustration because this illustration was done by my boss at People Centric, and he happens to be here. This is the first time. I've given this talk several times, and I've shown this illustration, but he's never been in the room. This is the first time he gets to experience it, too.
I'm expecting him to show how brilliant this thing that I did was. Is
Yeah.
what I'm expecting to see happen.
You guys judge of how brilliant this is. Let me set the stage. Before I came to People Centric, small company, right? I was a corporate trainer for one of the largest banks in the world. Super stable, been around forever. I didn't have to leave, but I was open to leaving. How many of you are in your current role because you didn't have to leave, but you were open to it? Somebody told you something nice, and now you're in your, yes, I see hands. That's where I was. I didn't have to go. So I made the jump to People Centric. Go from mega bank, small business. And I'm kind of enjoying the ride. We were doing some fun things, going to chamber events. We're, giving back to the community, spending money on this, spending money on that. This is pretty cool. 5 or 6 months into it, I noticed the spending we weren't buying tickets to go to the same events that we were going to previously. We weren't spending the money on the things that we had been spending the money on previously. And I didn't know why, but I did know there was a change. So Don, my boss, my fearless leader, brings us up to the front conference table. There's about 9 of us in the company at that point. Brings us up to the front conference table, and this is displayed before Don. And we're all eagerly waiting, the anticipation of this buildup. Why? What is the deal with the plastic cups? And Don starts by thanking us, guys. You've done a great job. You're done really well as a company. This is a representation of us. We made some good decisions. Some things have gone well for us, but, Don says, a couple of wrong decisions upcoming, and he goes like this. This is where we will be. Impactful,
Listen
right?
to how stunned silence they are.
Stunned,
how great an idea this was.
silence. Now, as an employee that had just made the jump to this small business, I have obvious questions. How many of you have obvious questions after that display of what happened there? I have obvious questions. In fact, Don and I will kind of go through this together. As a manager, Don, what were you thinking?
I was thinking this is great. What a great way to demonstrate the company. It's visual. It's kind of fun with the cups on this, and it was impactful. Did you hear the stunned silence in the room? Obviously, this was a brilliant idea.
Meanwhile, I'm going, I didn't even know we sold plastic cups. When was this a thing? Why do we have cups? Why are we talking about cups?
I knew that I had made this compelling argument that I was going to change our future as a company. I knew that I just motivated our whole team to better action moving forward.
Yeah.
I was confident.
So the cups mean money, right?
Yeah. I thought there's no way that he's not going to get this. This is very clear. He likes cups.
If the cup's worth money, how much is a cup worth? And how do I acquire more cups?
Yeah, at the time, I wish they were recording that. Now I don't wish they were, so that's probably good.
Here's the reality. I'm thinking as an employee, this company does not have enough cups for all of us. Is it time to job search again? This is a true story. This is how that really went down. Why do we speak in code to our people when it comes to financials? We do it. A lot of you are guilty of it. I won't say all of you. Maybe some of you are killing it. But we speak in code to our employees. Right? And when we speak in code, Don, what were you actually thinking as you were going through that?
I knew where we were at as a company. I knew that it was a challenging time. I also knew that we had faced challenging times before. I didn't want to burden everybody else with those challenges. I thought, I know as a business owner how bad those challenges are. They need to just be focused on what they're doing. So instead of just talking about the money stuff and saying, well, if we make a lot of bad decisions, we could run out of money, I thought it'll be a little safer to use cups.
As an employee, and see how many of you are on my side with this, I view the lack of transparency as a lack of trust. You clearly do not trust me. Jerry Seinfeld did a skit several years ago about the airport bathrooms, the little spring-loaded faucets in the airport bathrooms. Like, oh, I got a little water there. You hit it again. Oh, got a little more there. And he goes, why can't they give us normal operating faucets? Are they worried we're just going to turn them all on and then run out in the parking lot and going, water? I think sometimes that's how organizations view the employees. I can't give them that. The employees think they don't trust us with that.
I think the problem, though, Matt, is, and tell me if you're right, how many owners are in here? There are owners in here, shareholders? Yeah. If you go to your employees and you show them, let's say it's really good news. Let's say there's a ton of cups. Let's say you're making a lot of money. If you're going to tell them how much we're going to, they're just going to want more. Like if I tell you, like, look how much money we're making. Matt wasn't there when I was making no money, right? When you're first investing into the company. So if I just say, look how much we're going to have, he's going to say, well, great.
Yeah.
Pay me more money.
Understanding that leadership thinks that, I can't tell you how much money we have because then you're just going to want money. You're not going to understand it. But as the employee, no. I think you're good employees. They also want to help you be successful. But we don't give them the tools to be able to help us be successful.
Yeah, so then the other side of the story is, and when I talk to other owners and we're talking about making themselves a little bit more financially transparent, the other fear is, what if we're not doing so well? What if we are running low on cups? Are the employees going to see that and say, we need to jump ship? It's time for us to leave because we don't have a good future.
Yeah, but if we aren't making money, then I want to understand why we're not making money and how can I help? I think ownership and leadership sometimes get frustrated because you are not making the right decisions, but you have not equipped them to help make the right decisions. Yeah. When in reality, most employees want to help do that.
Yeah, my thought on this was I knew that we needed all of us together, but I didn't want to stress out everybody at the same time. Did I accomplish that goal? Did I accomplish the goal?
No.
No. There you go.
I'll speak for you. It did not. It was stunned silence around that conference room as well. But just because we did not know what we were watching there at that time, like there's two potentials there with lack of transparency with your employees. There's two potentials. Either this company is making so much money they don't want to talk about it, or we are going out of business. Clearly, we are going out of business, and we need to make other decisions. We need to all be job searching here. So, Don, talk about this here, why it's important to understand that, and also why we talk in code.
Okay, I wanted to give you a softball question because I think you're going to get a lot of hard questions today. Who can tell me what a zipper is? Raise your hand. Who can tell me what a zipper is? Okay, sir, would you mind telling me what a zipper is?
It's a closure.
It's a closure that opens and closes clothing. That's hard to say. Closure, a device that opens and closes clothing. That's right. Let's give him a round of applause. That was the correct answer. All right. Now let's ask this next question. Now this should be, how many of you have ever used a zipper before? This is a softball question. Those of you who are not raising your hand right now, I'm a little concerned about you. It's a new advice. This is going to be really cool. You're going to get to see this. So here's my next question is, how does a zipper work? Who wants to raise their hand? Who's got that one? How does a zipper work?
Brings two pieces together.
Yeah, but how? You pull on it. Yeah, but I mean, what is that? Yeah, you pull up, but how does it work? There's like little teeth.
There's like little teeth.
There's little.
The nonverbals work.
It's the thing. It's the pull thing that comes together in the little teeth.
Yeah.
So
easy.
like if you were transported back in time, like 200 years before the zipper was ever created, and you thought, this is a brilliant idea. If I create this, I'm going to become a thousandaire. That used to be a lot 200 years ago, right? If I could just invent a zipper, would you be able to recreate a zipper? You're like, I've got the concept, but could you really know? Like, we know kind of how it works. It's there. It's something we use every day, but we don't. I mean, if you really like, how does it actually come together? It comes up, and the little teeth come together, and then it holds together, and then the thing goes down. We know what it does. We use one every single day. It seems like a simple question, but if your life depended on it, could you design a zipper? Probably not, right? Oh, that was a fine description of the zipper. It's got little teeth and the thingy goes up and down, right? Yeah, that's exactly how that works. I think that happens a lot in financials. We know so much about financials. Of course, how many of you are familiar with financials? Okay, I'm going to ask another question. How many of you are really familiar with financials? Right? There were fewer hands that went up the second time when I asked that question. I always think about that question as like, you know that person that you know and you eat lunch with in the break room that you used to work with? And you don't know their name, but you've had lunch with them too many times to ask for their name. You know what I mean? And you're like, so how's the kids? And you know all about them except for their name. And it's way past the point where you can ask what their name is. What we find in the world of all organizations, that's what happens with financials. It's like, I'm an executive vice president. I should know all about financials. I should understand that. But when did I learn that? When did I go to that? Now, some of you in the room, who are the financial professionals in the room? Right? So those are the financial folks. And then where are the operations folks at? Can't help but notice a lot of the financial people were way in the back, and the operations folks were more closer to here. Can't help but notice that pattern on there. The financial people did go to school. They did spend a lot of time learning that. For those of us in operations, those of me, like I spent 10 years in engineering working for 2 Fortune 500 companies. How much did I learn about financials? Profit is good. That's what I really learned. So then you go to start a business, right? And I go to meet with my accountant, and the accountant says, okay, you're starting a business. That's really good. Well, I said, well, how do I do this? How do I keep track of my financials? What's the important? They said, here's a box. Put your receipts in it. Bring it to me once a month. Got it. I can do that. When you have money in your account, that's a good thing. Got it. I can do that, right? So here's a quiz. Here's a financial quiz. Which one of these numbers is greater, $1,500 or $150,000? That was a softball question. You got that one right? Unless we're talking about two different areas here. So we work with a restaurant. The restaurant was attached to a hotel. The restaurant had a net profit margin of 1%. 1%. What does that mean? That means for every dollar of revenue that comes through, they get to keep a penny at the end of the day. Okay, their employees got together and they were talking about things that they could do to try to save some money because the management was kind of questioning them a little bit. And what they did was they figured out a lot of the people who work at the hotel come by and they get food from us. And when they get food in a little bag and they grab all the plastic silverware and they get the napkins and all the stuff and all the packaging stuff that they waste throughout the year. We spend about $1,500 a year on that stuff. $1,500 a year. So they said, let's just have people grab plates and they'll bring them back. And then we can wash those and we can reuse those. So it ended up saving this restaurant about $1,500 a year. The employees went to the management and said, hey, we just had this idea. We saved $1,500 a year. And I was watching the response for managers. What would your response be if your employees came to you and saved you $1,500 a year? Good job. I heard good job. Way to go.
I saw.
Yeah, that's exactly. That was the response. It was pat, pat, pat. Good job.
You get out there
You
and do it
guys
again.
did a good job. Way to go. And so then I brought it, so they left, and then I brought up the point, and I said, hey, they just saved you $1,500 a year. And they were like, yeah, that was nice. That was very nice. It's good to see the employees talk about that. I'm like, okay. If they had come up and they had said, hey, we just sold a gift certificate for $150,000 to the restaurant, would you have guys gotten excited? And they were all like, oh my gosh, yes, we would have gotten so excited. That's so much revenue. How exciting is that? Okay, financial people, at a 1% net margin, if I save $1,500 in expenses, how much extra profit do I add to the bottom line? $1,500, right? If I have a 1% net margin and I bring in $150,000 worth of net of revenue, how much do I add to the bottom line? $1,500, right? We have a very fundamental misunderstanding of financials. We don't understand them. That doesn't just happen for the frontline folks. It also spreads up to executive levels. But it's something that we're missing because it's the fundamental language of business. It's how we think about things, right? It's how we make decisions as a business. There's a consequence of not sharing this information with our employees, with our team. Right? Because what we started to do as an organization is we said we want to share those financials. We want to be able to understand and see where we're at. Because Matt wanted to know what a cup was, and Matt wanted to know how he could go get more cups. And I realized that I didn't need him to go get more cups. I needed him to go get more money. Right? Because that's at the end of the day what we're talking about. So what are the consequences? We get confused employees. Doesn't Matt look confused right now?
Wait, what?
Just put your confused face on right now, right? We see that. We see frustrated leadership, right? We see people making decisions on a day-to-day basis, and you get frustrated. How many of you have employees that have made a dumb decision in the last month? Yeah. How many of you are sitting next to the employee that made the dumb decision, and you want to call them out right now?
There's a few. Yeah.
This is the moment right now where you can look at them and say, I see what you did, and I know you made that dumb decision, right? Why do we make dumb decisions? Why do employees make dumb decisions? A lot of times it's because they don't know what the impact is at the end of the day. What's the universal language of business that we don't like to talk about? At the end of the day, even if you're healthcare, even if it's all about the patients, right? More money, more mission. At the end of the day, if you're not profitable as an organization, if you can't bring revenue in and yet can't turn into profits, you're not going to be successful as an organization. If your employees don't see that, it's going to start to create some uneducated guesses. It's going to create the division. It's going to create the us and them. Have you sat around the executive tables with the owners of the company or with your administrative staff and talked about why can't they make better decisions out there? Talking about your employees, the people on your team. Maybe it's because you're talking two different languages. right? You start to see division between different departments that sometimes pop up, that they're fighting for resources because they don't know how they contribute to the overall whole. They don't see the bigger picture. There's a consequence for us not sharing these things, right? We get confused employees at the end of the day, and they miss the metrics that they know to see whether they're succeeding or failing or not. In our last session, one of the things that we talked about is why we work determines how well we work on a very fundamental world. The good news is you're in healthcare. You're in healthcare. If you didn't know that, by the way, you're in healthcare if you're here. If that's a news flash, I saw 3 people write that down. I thought that was interesting. Oh, healthcare. That makes sense now what we're doing. That makes sense. The problem is that how many of you and how many of your employees go to work every day, you do your job, you go home, and your spouse calls you and says, what did you accomplish today? You said, well, I sat at the front desk all day and I took a lot of people that came up and I processed them. Or, hey, I walked around and I talked to the employees. I didn't know what I accomplished. We have those days like that, right? We all have that. The truth is that if we know how we're doing, whether we're winning or losing, we do it better. We know how we're impacting things. There's a group called The Great Game of Business that we're big followers on. It's a good book that's out there, by the way, as a recommendation. It's called The Great Game of Business. It's a story about a manufacturing company that shared their financials with their employees. And the employees made some amazing decisions moving forward, right? We need to share that because it's a common language of business, and it motivates people. People get excited. Even if you're losing money, it helps us to get connected, right? If we don't share that, then what do people do? We talk a lot about when we engage employees, we'll go to the employees and say, what is it that you need? And we can tell how connected or disconnected they are, because if I went to your employees tomorrow and I said, hey, what all do you need? What ideas do you have to improve the company? What kinds of things are we going to hear? Well, the coffee in the break room's not very good. We actually call them coffee projects because we hear that one a lot, right? Well, we could use more recognition. My second cousin's former roommate got $2 an hour more at the clinic down the street. We should be getting paid more too, right? How many of you is it a bad day when somebody comes to you and asks you for a raise, right? If they understand the language of financials, you can say, good, I want to give you a raise too. Let's talk about how we accomplish that together, right? It puts us on the same page, right? And here's the punchline of all of this, and I hope you all believe this. Don't you realize your employees want to help you succeed? How many of you believe that? Your employees want to help you succeed at the end of the day. How many of you have employees, though, that you know they don't want to help you succeed? Right? In the last session, we talked about that. Matt made a great point. He says, you know why they keep coming back? Matt, why do they keep coming back?
Because we pay them to keep coming back.
We keep paying them to coming back, yes. Right? You can deal with that, right? But most people, at the end of the day, they want their people to succeed. Right? This leads to frustrated leadership, right? We start to ask ourselves, why are our people the way that they are at the end of the day? Right? So this is a story that we work with the clinic. Front desk, so important to a job, right? Processing patients as they come in, making sure we're collecting the right information from them. We started to create a scorecard for this group and started to discover that they had $850,000 worth of claims that were rejected in a month. And they were rejected because of information that was not collected at the front desk. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Right? Yeah, I see a whole bunch of people. Testify, yes, fix this problem for me, right? We go to the front desk employees. Why do you think they were not collecting the information? When I told them that we had $850,000 worth of claims that had been rejected because they hadn't collected that information, that blew their minds. They had never heard that before. They've always heard you're supposed to collect this and make sure you have the updated address and make sure you get their insurance card, and if they owe a copay, make sure they pay that. The same practice, by the way, we also got to tell them over the last year, there's $2 million worth of uncollected bills that were supposed to collect at the counter that you didn't collect. $2 million that now the company has to go out and figure out how to collect outside of that. The frontline employees had no idea. What do you think how they responded when we told them this? How do we fix this? What do we need to do better? Now they're pulling training from us, and that allowed us to start to work with them to say, how can we make this better? Yeah.
You know, we talk about the division that this causes as well, not only the confused employees, but there's also division by not sharing, division between management and employees. When managers don't share the information, the employees are pretty sure and they're confident that the managers are in fact hiding something. We talked about that just a little bit ago. Maybe they're hiding success, maybe they're hiding failure, but either way, pretty sure they're hiding something. Leads to further breakdowns in trust, where employees just don't trust their managers. Misalignment, us versus them. I referred to a company that we worked with in the past. There was 2 stories, the 2-story building. The first floor people referred to the second floor people as the second floor people. Second floor referred to the first floor as the first floor people. You know what I mean? That department against this department. Those people against these people. Worked with another hospital in Missouri, and their mission statement was every patient, every encounter, every time. And there was 2 departments fighting, and one of the departments literally said, those people don't care about patients at all. That's why they do what they do. They don't care about the patient. It's probably not true. They probably do. We're just a little bit misaligned here. This is a true story from another hospital that we support. And one of the C&O there, not necessarily C&O, department head nurse manager, she came into the executive's office, the CEO's office, and said, I need to give my nurses a raise. I need to give them a raise. I want to give them a raise. They work very hard. They deserve it. How many of you feel like nurses deserve raises? Yeah, that's not a combative statement, right? I need to give my nurses a raise. Now, the problem is she was blind to the realistic financials of the situation. One of the things that it was one of the bullet points, I don't know if Don actually said it there, but confused employees start kingdom building. What is kingdom building? What do we mean by that? Good, everybody's going to learn something today. Kingdom building. That employee is kingdom building, meaning they are focused on their job, their department, their team, their people, their processes. Which on one hand, you're like, awesome. On the other hand, they have no idea if it's to the detriment of another department and their processes and the organization and their processes. She was trying to give all of her nurses raises. We're pro giving nurses raises, but not if we can't afford to give nurses raises. We can give them a raise, but this will be the last check everybody gets. Like, where do you want to land on that? Now, if she would have known that, she probably wouldn't have asked that same question, because she would have had a little bit more transparency to it. Division between departments. When departments don't share information, we're pretty sure one department is hiding something from another department. You see the same theme? Further breakdowns, confusion, chaos, misalignment, us versus them mentality. Here's a question. Can I be frank? Managers don't get to be angry at their employees for not making smart financial decisions if managers don't give them the tools and information to make smart financial decisions. Does that make sense? I think sometimes as managers and leadership, we spend a lot of time being frustrated at our people because they are not making smart financial decisions. They're making ridiculous requests. The reality is you haven't really set them up for success to be able to help make smart financial decisions. Employees are not judging success the same way that managers and executives are judging success. They're looking at something differently until we show them what maybe they should be looking at. The team is always smarter. The team is always smarter than we give them credit for. We just have to engage them. Here's the really frank question. Just because a manager shows employees the financials does not mean that the employees understand them. I was at an organization doing leadership development. I was just there with a group of managers. They asked me to come in and do an hour. Let's do a fun leadership development topic. All right. Before we get started, the department head said, wait, Matt, before we get started, I got to pass around these sheets. And it was their budget sheets. Pass them out to all the department heads. And the only thing he said was, everybody keep in mind, you guys have 2 weeks to fill out your budget. Make sure to turn that in. And he goes, okay, go ahead, Matt. You're up. And I started to look at the department heads. And the department heads were like this. And they're looking at each other. And I said, before I start, can I ask a question? How many of you understand what it is that they just asked you to do? And about, I don't know, a third of the hands went up. Like, how many of you understand how to be able to actually accomplish the thing? Like, do you have enough tools to be able to accomplish the thing? What are they likely to do with that sheet? Yeah, they're just going to start making a wish list out of it. Like, I mean, gosh, I hope we can do this. I hope I can do this. This is what I'm asking her. It's like, Oliver, please, sir, can I have some more? I don't know. Maybe you don't understand that. You should go watch it. It's like that scene, though. Can I have some more, please? I don't know. This would be cool, right? And then you know what the problem with that is? I wasn't going to plan to say this, but we see it. That manager or that department head goes back to their department. You know what they tell them? Good news, I just filled out the budget for next year. Things are going to change around here. You should see how many zeros I put on the end of that thing. I have no idea. Everybody's getting, what do you want? What do you want? Everybody just line up right here. It's not the same conversation. Just because managers and leaders see the financials doesn't mean that they actually understand them. Don, share the story about the T-shirts here. This is impactful.
We were working with a screen printer out in Austin, Texas, and they had about 50 employees, and they were badly behind on their production. Badly behind. And so we went out onto the floor, and we were just watching the floor. And I'm a recovering engineer, 15 years clean. If you have engineers in your life that need some help, come talk to me. But I was just watching production. They have 4 machines, and every time I would look at the machines, there would be only 1 machine running. And I'm like, that's wasting production time. And everybody's running around. They're working hard. They're sweating. They're doing things, but they're doing dumb things, like they're trying to get boxes in front of a machine that's already running that doesn't need any more boxes. Like they're not working on the right kinds of things. So I started going to the employees, and I said, how's it going today? And they all said, what do you think they said? Okay. Right, like, what are you asking? I'm like, well, how productive are you today? How many shirts are you making? What does this look like then? They're like, I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. Finally, one person said to me, he said, Don, here's the thing. When I come in the morning, there's a big pile of shirts over here. Big pile of T-shirts. At the end of the day, that big pile is a little bit smaller. And that's how I know what we did during that day. They had no idea how many shirts they made in a day. No idea. So finally, at the end of that shift, we pulled everybody together, and I said, hey, I've been talking to a lot of you. We found out that none of you know how many shirts you make in a day. And they were like, no, we don't know how many shirts we make in a day. I said, okay, did you know you made 4,000 shirts today? And they were like, we made 4,000 shirts today. He said, okay. And then they're sitting there thinking about it, and then you start seeing them look at each other. What do you think the next question was? Is that good? I said, well, you're currently 150,000 shirts behind on your orders. And they went, ooh, that's not good, right? So we said, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to set goals yet. We're not going to set targets. We're not going to drive anything. All we want to know is whether you want to see how many shirts you made at the end of the day, every day. We'll write them up on this dry erase board here at the end of the shift. And they said, yes, that would be great. A week and a half later, no goals, no setting, nothing else to push on it. We're just going to tell them what the number is. The next week, the owner called me. He says, Don, you're not going to believe what happened. On Monday, they did 4,000 shirts. On Tuesday, they did 5,000 shirts. On Wednesday, they did 8,000 shirts. On Thursday, they did 12,000 shirts. And on Friday, they did 15,000 shirts. Just knowing the number, not setting any goals. If you don't think your people want to be successful, listen to that story. Right?
Yeah, and I think one of the telling things about that story is maybe we've been faced with a scenario like that in our own world, and we tried to solve it our own way. And maybe by solving it our own way meant I was going to go down to the floor and, hey, why aren't these machines running? Don't you know you're behind? Let's get going. Idle hands are the devil's playground. Whatever, you should be doing something. Should be doing something, right? And the reality is that's what maybe we tried to solve the problem like that, and really we just gave them the tool to be able to help them solve their own problem.
I'm a little distracted that you keep quoting 1950s musicals.
Yeah.
I just keep throwing me off a little bit.
Stick around. It only gets better. Are you ready? All right, so sometimes, the reality is sometimes we just need help. I don't know how many of you are golfers in here, but whether you're a golfer or not, you know this guy. This is Tiger. Now, Tiger is about to putt, but what is Tiger doing? Anybody? Reading the green. What's he looking for? Breaks, lefts, rights, ups, downs. I don't know, how far away, the lay of the green. They get pretty particular. Sometimes this is us. You guys are trying to do your best. You're trying to get a lay of the land. I'm trying to read what this is going to do. Are we going to go left? Are we going to go right? Is this an up or a down that I need to watch out for? But sometimes we just need a closer look. You know what I'm saying? This might be some of you. You've already tried the Tiger pose, and now we were here. I would do it, but I don't think I could get back up if I did that again, right? I just need a closer look. Show me something, right? Show me something. Which way is this going to go? Sometimes I need help, though. Anybody have a member on your team that you're like, hey, get over here and take a look at this with me, right? I'm looking. I think it's going to go left. What do you think? And you're able to bounce these things off of them. What do you see from this? I think I'm reading this way. Which way do you read it? Sometimes it takes a team of people, though. Have you ever played in a 4-man scramble? Anybody done that? Those 3 people behind the one in front, what are they doing? What they think, right? Now, whenever that guy up front gets ready to go putt it, what's the team going to do? They're going to. I hear you whispering it. You may as well say it. We're watching. They're going to watch. That way, when the next person gets up, what are they going to do? I'm going to make an adjustment. I saw that went a little bit to the left. I need to start this a little higher. Like the way that we talk about financials now, the way that we work this now would be the equivalent of that guy. Okay, they talk about it and they're like, all right, go get him, buddy. Job up there and knock this one in. He goes up there to go putt and everybody else turns around and doesn't watch anything. And they go, how'd it go? Great, my turn. I'm going to try it now. I'm going to try it now. Using the information. They're getting a read on it. Like the reality is sometimes we just need each other to succeed. And when I say each other, I'm talking about those employees that already work for us. How do we energize them around this idea as well? So relating relevant revenue, we can totally do this together.
Yeah, so let's think about how we can do this, right? How can we make sure that we put this out for people? So first of all, the tip is to start small, okay? You don't have to have all of your employees go get accounting degrees or finance degrees. That it will probably save you some money right off the top. So you're welcome for that little tip, right? But what we need to do is we do need to start educating them. And we need to start educating everybody a little bit on things. Now, we're going to have to start with some basics, right? We're going to have to share a little bit what's the difference between revenue and profit. I find that when you ask most people in business that question, many of them do not understand the difference between revenue and profit. The financial people in the room are probably cringing right now. Half the operational people in the room are also cringing, saying, please don't ask us what the difference between revenue and profit is, because I don't want to put that out there. Isn't revenue meaning the money that comes in? Yes, it's the money that comes in. The profit's what's left over after all of the expenses and after the cost of sales goes out of it, right? But we need to be able to start to show people what's happening inside of the organization. Now, I will say something about the education. The finance people in the room, okay, raise your hand one more time, finance folks in the room. Okay, we're all friends, right? Can I be real for a second? Some of you are not the best at teaching financials. Are we still friends? Is it still cool? Sometimes when you know too much about something, right? Have you been the financial person who presents at the board meeting and you go through all of the things and you go through this very intricate analysis of the balance sheet and the profit and loss and the cash flow statement and how much you better borrow on the outside and whatever goes on in here and all that stuff, and the board members are sitting there looking at that like Matt didn't, looking at it like, okay, do you have any questions? And then people, what do? They look at a number, that looks like a big number. What does that number mean? And then you describe it to them and they move on, right? It's a tough thing to be able to teach. So sometimes it's not the financial people that need to teach this stuff. Sometimes it's the people who have a good working knowledge and good communication to be able to say, hey, here's how our company works. This is the business model for us, right? And then whenever you teach it, what you need to teach is think about what the business model is. Don't just focus on revenue. We love to talk about revenue, don't we? We love to talk about revenue. We're bringing this new provider and they're going to bring this much new revenue. And this is going to be so exciting because if we can just out-earn whatever else we're spending, we're going to be just fine, right? But what we really should be talking about is profit. Because if you had to choose one, you're going to want profit. You want money over at the end of the day because that leads to your future. That allows you to invest in things, right? So once you've got that education that's out, we need to focus on helping the employees to understand how can we be making more money. Right? So when your employees come to you and say, hey, I'd like to make more money, you can say, I would like you to make more money too. Because do your employees care about how profitable you are? If they get a piece of it. I like that question, right? Here's the bottom line answer for that. Do they care about it today? Probably not. Unless you're doing a really good job of what we're talking about today. Employees don't know why they should care about profit. So as part of that education about profit, we have to talk about this is why we care about profit. We work for a hospital. They set a goal. They said, we need to make $4 million in profit this year. If I'm a frontline nurse who's making $15 an hour, and I heard the company say, we need to make $4 million in profit next year, where did they think the $4 million goes? There's a cabinet behind the CEO, and it's just filled with $1,000 bills. Right, that just get piled in there. They have no idea where that money goes or why do they need $4 million. They don't know that they need the $4 million because they're going to be investing in new equipment because they just built a new building and they have to make payments on that and because that stuff doesn't always show up on the profit and loss statement because some of it shows up on the balance sheet because it's a... See what I'm doing? You have to understand what's happening with the financials to be able to connect the employees to the decisions that they make on a day-to-day. We have to get back to the basics of running the clinic, running the hospital. What's the business model? What's the big picture, right? And then once we do that, now we are going to keep score. This is the part that I want you to think differently of. Just like Matt talked about before, where we come up with the dashboard and we come out and we, like Moses from the mountain, say, here are our financials. Everyone read this and everyone get involved with this. What we did at People Centric after the cup fiasco, right? when Matt started saying, how do I get more cups? I realized I have to describe what a cup means, which means that Matt has to take ownership of a cup, right? So Matt, that's going to be your cup. That's your line item. Let me explain to you how we get more cups. Let me tell you what that cup means. And I start sharing information. And Matt's going to own that cup. And then I can say, if we're working together now. You work for me now. You're going to get that cup. So you're going to learn about that cup. Now, instead of me telling you all about the cup, what we're going to do is we're going to pull back together, and I'm going to say, tell me about your cup. Where do you think we're going to go next year? How does your cup look? Do you think it's going to get bigger, or do you think it's going to get smaller? What have you learned about your cup? Can you describe to Matt what goes into your cup? Matt, can you describe to him what goes into his cup? You start to create ownership within your organization. Now, envision this. What could that look like? Some of you in the financials are thinking your P&Ls. How many of you have 3 or 4 page P&Ls? Right? It's long, like you're flipping it. It's like this long. We work with a clinic, they call them the long sheet. And it's not by accident because it's long, it's huge. But what I'm talking about is you take that P&L and what if you shrunk it down? What if you combined a bunch of categories together? And you said like labor, big picture, right? Expenses, right? Office expenses. And you combined it down. And you gave line item ownership to different people inside your clinic, inside your hospital. And you said, learn about this line and then forecast it for us. Let's look forward instead of just looking backwards. What would happen? Now you think, not all my people are numbers people. We've done this with publishers before. Publishers, we had a publisher who had an art director. The art director's super hyper creative. He's like, I am not a numbers person. We gave him their software line because it was a big line. They spent a lot of money on software, and the art department uses a lot of the software. So we gave him that line item. He scratched and moaned and cried and hated doing it the whole time until he started to figure it out. And if you go talk to him today, he's a master at that line. He'll tell you, oh, we're going to spend $6,500 this month instead of $7,000 this month because we renegotiated this contract and we took 2 people off of those seats and we stopped using this software and combined that. By the way, he went on to save the company $3,500 a month in software costs the first year that he was on that. Because the management didn't realize the software that they were using that they weren't using, right? That they were paying for that they weren't using. It's we keep score. We work on it together, right? This shows a publishing company, but how can you create a simple KPIs, right? Here's some of the things that we're looking at. Here's the departments. Here's the goals. Here's the current January, February, March. Here's where we're at. People can get used to looking at these things, and you create these scorecards, and you share them. Where do you put them? You don't bury them into a file someplace. You hang them on the wall. You put it in front of everybody so you can see a scorecard. How many football fans are out there? Right? How long does it take you to look at a scoreboard to know what's going on in the football game? 5 seconds? You can look at it really quick. Okay, it's 17-13. It's in the 4th quarter. There's 2 minutes left. And the team that's down by, that's down, I didn't remember what the score was, but down by 4 has 2 minutes left to go. You know what kind of plays they need to call. You get it fast, right? It's creating these kind of scorecards that people can get involved in. And once you start with the financials, then you can start to think about what the KPIs are. KPIs are what? Key performance indicators, right? Now, key performance indicators are not just metrics. This is something in healthcare. Do you have metrics in healthcare? Oh my gosh, you have metrics in healthcare. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how good you are at collecting data and how bad you are at using the data. I'm telling you this with love as an outsider. You're so good at collecting it. You collect so much of it. And I think you're looking at piles of it. And it's like the manager, there's the old story in manufacturing of the plant manager who used to put the chart behind him in the wall, and he had this chart of production, and it's this chart that goes like this, and the consultant sits across and says, why do you keep that on the wall? And he goes, I like to know what's going on. And he said, well, how are things going? And he looks at it for a while and turns around and goes, well, some days are better than others.
Yeah.
Not particularly helpful, right? So we have to think as we look at the financials, help us understand what are the key indicators to help your cup. What are the things you're looking at? What are the key performance indicators that help your cup? How can we work together on figuring this stuff out? It's different than the metrics. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of the other metrics. It just tells you that whenever your key performance indicator starts to go south and you say, I need to be able to fix that, then you can dive into other metrics to start to understand why. You see how we use that? Start with the financials, because that's the common language, then go to your key performance indicators, and then go to your metrics. The metrics help you to understand the story that the financials tell and the key performance indicators tell. So then keep that dashboard, that scorecard available out in front of everybody. How often do we as a company go over our financials, Matt?
Weekly.
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 Now, is that a weekly presentation that I just say, Matt, here's our financials?
No, it's a weekly snapshot, kind of a dashboard that we all own different line items from. We all contribute to the conversation. But it also encourages, because it's going so often and the transparency is there, it encourages us to ask questions, maybe from my cup to your cup, wondering why that number got a little squirrely from last week, what's the change, and then leads to better conversations like that.
Yeah, that's if you keep it in front of everybody. Now, that weekly meeting, by the way, some of you are like, oh, good, I need another meeting in my life. That sounds amazing, right? That weekly meeting is 10 minutes long. It's fast. Tell me what's going on with your cup. My cup hasn't changed from last week. It's going to be here. Okay, what about your cup? My cup's gotten a little bit bigger from last week because of this and this happened. Oh, okay. Well, we better control that. And we're looking forward. We're forecasting. We're not saying what happened. We're forecasting the whole time. What happened is helping us to forecast better. You follow me on that? We're looking backwards at the data to help us to forecast better so that when we're wrong, we can fix it. And it's okay to be wrong when you first start this because you will be. Your people will get confused, right? But knowledge is power, right, Matt? That's the whole idea of this presentation.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. More educated staff makes more educated decisions. We were talking about that. In fact, I'm going to share a couple of different examples with you of why knowledge is power and the different decisions that your staff can make. And I'm going to use myself kind of as an example for this. This is a true story of People Centric. We're going to take you into the inner workings of People Centric. Now, because we were having the regular conversation about the financials, we also had a conversation about we need to hire somebody new. But we had a clear scope of our financials, and so we all knew, here's the indicator. What indicator do we want to make? Here's the indicator. When we get to this level, we'll know that we'll be able to sustain a new employee, right? Small business. We get to this level, this is our mark, we'll know that we'll be able to sustain a new employee. In the midst of that, this request was from me because traveling all over the country, I needed to have access to Wi-Fi anywhere I was. A couple years ago, it was kind of spotty with Wi-Fi. It wasn't always a guarantee. It's gotten a lot better, but this was my request. I think we all need data cards so I could be plugged in all the time, no matter where I'm at. Don, being the good leader that he was at the time, still are. That sounded like you're no longer.
Yeah, that sounds like I faltered.
Still is. After that, pick yourself back up. Here's the reality. Don goes, oh, okay. I'll take that request. Don goes to check it out with the cell carrier at the time, and he comes back, and it's a team meeting. This is a true story. He comes back, team meeting, and he goes, okay, good news. You guys asked for data cards, because by the time I said it, everybody else was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's do it, data cards. He goes, I can get data cards for everybody. That's not a problem. It's going to be $200 per person per month. And instead of saying no, Don said, what would you guys like to do? What do you think we said? Yeah, well, exactly, right? That's what I was thinking. They said up here, how does that affect the situation with hiring the new employee? We didn't have to ask that question because we knew. We were part of that conversation. We knew when we got here, new employee. Don comes back, data cards for everybody, $200 per month. Every month, do you want the data cards? I'll go get them. And the answer changed from a yes to a no.
I think it's important to recognize, too, I'm not manipulating Matt in that situation. I was really willing to do the data cards. But how many times do we give our employees something that if they knew the bigger picture, they wouldn't really need?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is we need new data cards. If we had not had the huddle, if we didn't have the open and transparency, we would have said, Don, no matter the cost, go get them. Take care of us. We need this thing. Don would have tried to, make a way. Okay, I'll go figure that out and bring it back for everybody. New data cards for everybody. But we would have also been missing out on so much. We would have been missing out on so much in that reality. The other one is me. This was a me thing too. I was making videos for our social media, like on Facebook, stuff like that. And on the front side of it, I would make a video that I was honestly very proud of, put it out there on social media. This is going to be huge. Let me get like 2 likes. And I remember we were in an airport one time, getting ready to get on the airplane to go fly somewhere else to go speak. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to keep making the videos, Don. I said, that last one got like 2 likes. What I did not see was the background admin part of that Facebook page. And he said, no. I mean, 2 people clicked the like button, but that video was in front of 1,300 people. It had like 1,300 views. All of a sudden, that sounds different, right? Like, oh, okay. I'll keep making content then if it's getting in front of that many people. Same thing with the financial transparency. See how it influences your decision? It influences the decisions of the employees, because we're equipping them with information. We do not get to be upset and frustrated at our employees for not making smart financial decisions if you're not equipping them with the tools to make smart financial decisions. That's the goal.
It also tells us that of the 500 people that are in this room, roughly one of them likes you right now.
Roughly one of you likes me.
Who are you? Where are you at? Let's raise your hand.
It's the slow clap people in the back. Yeah. Here's the key takeaways as we wrap up. Employees that are aligned with the vision of the company and leadership, I mean, that's what transparency leads to. We want them aligned with where we're going. Projects and project teams that work together towards the same goal with financial implications in mind. They're working with financial implications in mind. They're making decisions because they have a clear picture, because they're involved in that side of it too. Creates a common language and understanding, and at the end of the day, we're creating more engaged employees. We talked about earlier in the workshop, which if you weren't there, I don't know where you were. You missed out on some good stuff earlier. But we were talking about that. It's not about people being happy. It's about people being engaged. How do I engage people? You engage them. Bring them to the table.
Yeah. That day, Matt talks about with the cups. It is fun to see this on stage because Matt created this and we knew that he created this. It's fun to watch you get to do that on that. But it has been so rewarding as an owner of a company to see our team take so much ownership in the future of the company and what they've been willing to do, even through things like COVID and the events. When we thought we had no idea what our future looked like, I didn't have to go to our employees and say, here's all the measures we're going to have to do. The employees came to me and cut about 30% of our expenses right out of their lines. Our very next huddle, we came together and everybody came knowing that they were going to have to shrink their cups and said, okay, we're going to start cleaning our office ourselves. Let's get on a schedule where we clean our own office. Those kinds of things. That as an owner, that's what you want to feel. But that's what a level of engagement for that. And so proud of our team for that. So this is definitely a worthwhile topic to be able to jump into.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Talk about the book.
Oh, okay. So here's another thing. So this is a little bit of a shameless plug here. So I'm working on a book and it's almost done. And it's out there. If you are interested, this is not buy the book, this isn't anything. If you just want to know more about the book and get information when it comes out, there's a QR code up here. You can snap a picture of that and it will send you, and you can sign up for it, and then we'll send you information whenever that does come out. Because there's going to be these stories and more on that. So we're going to leave this one up here, but you can check that out. Otherwise, Matt and I are going to be hanging out for the rest of today, and we'll be around a little bit for tomorrow morning. But come by and check us out if you have any questions or anything like that. And it's been an honor just to get to be here, and we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.